Modules, assets, and packages. Let's disambiguate. So let's start with the easy one, modules, and then we'll go into packages and assets. All three of these broadly referring to ways that we extend the Unity editor and add features to the editor and add stuff to our game. Modules are in the hub, not in the Unity feature editor. Feature? Gosh, I need more coffee. But we're going anyway. When we're trying to build a game, I want to build it for Android, but it says no Android module loaded. I want to build for iOS. I cannot do this thing. What I need to do, Windows, Mac, Linux, it's not in the dropdown. What I need to do is add those build modules to my, what am I in, 2021.2. This one. I need to add these modules by going to the hub, going to installs, finding my version I'm on, and doing add modules. You should probably close Unity when you're going to do this part, but I'm not actually going to do this part. And here I can add the actual build support that I want. You'll notice I am adding a lot of gigabytes. If you're low on hard drive space, you don't install the build modules that you don't need. If you're on Windows, building for Windows, and you're never going to touch a Mac in your life, you don't need Unity to include Mac support at all. And this video isn't about build features, but as a rule of thumb, if you don't know any better, just go ahead and choose Mono instead of IL2CPP, which stands for Integrated Language to C++, for what it's worth. Both will work. Anyway, so that's modules. That's where we add our build target. It's also where we add, it's also where we add our, if you wanted to install Visual Studio Community and not from Microsoft's website, you can do it here. Unity just has this there so that beginners can get an IDE if they don't know any better. And that way they can let me start Unity, and they install Unity, and then 5 minutes later, it's install this other software. What? You can do it from right here. And you should install documentation for your version of Unity pretty much always, in my opinion. And languages, well, as needed. Okay, great. So that's modules. That's just the build targets, pretty much just the build targets. That's what they're there for. That's the easy part. Packages and assets. Okay, that's first the vocab, the language. When do we use the word asset? When do you use the word package? Well, in terms of the Unity structure and system, it can get a little muddly. But colloquially, while I'm talking about stuff and talking to Unity developers, I am going to refer to assets as things that I will have in my game, 3D models, sounds, images, textures, things that will appear in my final build project. And I'll use the term packages for things that I'm going to help me edit my game, like a terrain painting tool or something like that. So assets will be in the project, and a terrain painting and packages will be like editor features. Broadly speaking, turns out there's a lot of mishy-mush ambiguity, and that's not a very clean divide, because a lot of features that I want to add, like a camera control system to my game, perhaps I want to add Cinemachine, well, that's going to be actual components and scripts that are going to be in my project, but it's also going to be a bunch of editor features that help me use it. So is it a package or assets? It's a package. It's just, it's a pile of stuff. And to understand why that, it's a work thing. I'm back, interrupted by work. In Unity, assets and packages can be anything that is in your assets folder will be used, right? If you can make an extension to the Unity editor that will add a new window and that will add features, and you can write all those things, and you can write the code in C# and just put it in your folder, in your assets folder, and that's how you extend Unity. So back in the good old days, before we had this package manager thing, everything was just these folders that we would add, and managing what versions and updates was kind of a pain in the butt. Not everything, but we couldn't, Unity has its stuff and we had our stuff, and that was that. Now Unity's done better at allowing us to take our code and our certain just isolated thing that we're not going to update, like some Cinemachine package I get from somewhere else, for example. And Unity lets us add that to a package, and it's not going to muddle up our assets folder. as much, right? I don't have so many folders full of these packages that I don't actually touch. I'll still probably have some. So let's head back to the package. Let's head to the package manager and figure out what is up with this menu. So go to Window, Package Manager, and let's take a look what we have in here. I'm going to start with the built-in, or it'll drop down here different categories. I'm going to start with built-in and take a look at that. These are the actual core underlying editor features, and we don't need to touch it pretty much ever. The only reason I would go into here is if I had made the mistake of grabbing the wrong physics component 8,000 times and I was so tired of it, maybe I disable the one that I'm not using. Or maybe I'm using the new Unity UI feature and I just want to disable the old one so I don't get confused and accidentally grab the wrong component. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much it. So you're not going to touch this. You're not going to touch this. Don't touch that. Let's head to the Unity. Let's go to In Project and go there next. In Project tells me the packages that are currently installed, not the ones that are built into Unity, but the ones that I've then added on top of those defaults. And you can see I have different packages for each of my code editors I have installed. I have Unity Timeline and TextMesh Pro, which are being shipped in that default 3D template. They're being added, but they're not like a core Unity feature in the same way as these. And you can remove them. I'm on the new input system in Cinemachine, which I've added for I don't have to restart my editor when I do the next part of this video. Yeah, so those are that. And we'll notice we're on different versions here, and some of these versions I could update, right? I could update this test framework. Let's do that. The reason is because I'm not quite on the latest version of Unity. I'm a little bit behind. And when Unity releases a new version of its editor, that is independent of the package developers releasing new versions of the packages. So to make sure everything works together, Unity has verified versions of packages that will work in different versions of editors. So like, okay, well, we tested it, and this version works with this version of the editor, and this version of the package works with this version of the editor. Back in the old days, you just had editor versions, and when the people developing UI added a feature, it would get rolled into the next big update of Unity. And in that update, everything was made to work together, which was nice, but the problem is you have to wait that long to get these bug fixes, and you have to wait for the VR features to get added when you just wanted the bug fixes of the UI system. Now Unity has so many features, they've split it off into their own little packages that can get updated independently and removed independently. And frankly, I think this is a good system. It allows developers to release bug fixes without us having to wait and upgrade our main Unity version or really mess with parts of our project when we do those upgrades we don't want to mess with. So that's good. It's a good thing. What will happen with you at some point is you're going to take a project from an old version of Unity and you're going to say, I'm using this new version of Unity. I want to update my Unity version. And when you do, it won't update any of your packages. It'll keep them on the version that they are. Of course it will. So you might have a package, when you update to a new version of Unity, you might have a package that isn't up to date. And you might get a billion errors in the console, and the errors are like part of code that you can't touch in the packages, and you're like, what's going on? It's all broken. This was a mistake. Close Unity, stick your face in a pile of sand. I don't know. What you can do is you can go into the package manager and you can check and maybe update these versions to newer features, to newer versions along with the editor. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe that'll also break your project and you need it to be the old ones. I don't know, but that's another place to check before everything is destroyed, is to update the things that are causing your errors. Yeah, so that's our, and having the packages all separated and versions all separated like that does make things complicated, but that old time true adage of like never upgrade a Unity version mid-project development, that's a little bit less dangerous now because we can change some of the features independently. We can update the one that's causing our problems and we can leave the one that we need to be a certain version on a certain version. And hopefully it'll all work. Maybe it all still breaks. You generally still shouldn't update things mid-development. Still officially my advice is to not do that. Okay, so that's what's in the project. Let's take a look at the registry. These are Unity's officially supported packages. This features thing, and you may not see that, that's new, we're gonna ignore it. Just the packages list is what we care about. These are just bundles. These are just bundles of packages. So we have a bunch of 2D tools, and if you were in the hub and you were to start a new project on the 2D template, what that would do is it would have these packages imported, not all of them, most of these imported by default. And that's one of the few things that the actual templates do is they give you some default packages. Excellent, right? You're not, I mean, you get to a point where you start a new Unity project, you go in and you just add your favorite packages and then you start development. Okay, so lots of packages in here that are cool. Cinemachine is great. I love it. I use it in lots of projects. I can't remember the last time I wrote camera follow code. I just, Unity wrote it and it's good enough and I just use it. It's fine. I'm on the new input system. That's a whole thing out of scope of this video, but I had to restart the editor. ProBuilder is a 3D modeling software built into Unity. Post-processing, oh, make it look good. Make it look good. Polybrush, 3D texture painting, I think. Lots of AR and XR packages. Lots of fun stuff in here. Visual scripting is a package. You can do drag and drop node editing, right? You don't have to write code. You can just do visual scripting. Amazing. Visual effects graph is, oh, we love it. We love it. We have lots of fun doing stuff with that. All of the AR and XR stuff is so complicated, and getting versions right to also match hardware versions and SDKs by vendors and all that whole world is confusing. So they made another package called the plugin management package that you can install packages from just for XR. So if you're doing VR and you're doing AR, just first start with this one and then go to your settings where this menu, it gives you a new menu and go from there. And it'll grab the right versions of the other stuff, which is, oh, it's a lifesaver. We love it. Unity's got a WebGL thing. I forgot that. I forgot Unity has their own place you can upload WebGL file. I always forget that. I tell people to use simmer.io or h.io. Anyway, let's now head to the last feature of the package manager, which is the assets. Now, when you import a package, it's going to import a package from these assets, which are the things you get on the asset store, assetstore.unity.com. When you import a package, one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to import it as a package in the same way it did all the other Unity things, or more often than not, it's going to import it just as a folder in your assets folder. That's all it's going to do. That's fine. So we can go in and we can find an asset that we want to pay for. And you can be like me and you can be a sucker for the packs, right? If there's a pack that is one thing that I want, right? Recently there was a big pack of stuff and it had this, where was it? This uni bullet hell thing. I wanted to make a top-down shooter. I still do, like in VR, and use your head parallax to help you do all the bullet dodging. So anyway, I got that, but I got a bunch of other stuff with it because it was in a big bundle sale pack. I'll never use any of that stuff, but I have it. So let's go ahead and search for starter assets if you're following along. Third-person character controller, which is Unity finally added some starter assets back. They used to have starter assets. Back in the day, they had starter assets with a first-person character controller and a third-person character controller and a plane controller and a car controller. And you can see it's been updated to work on the new versions of Unity. It didn't even have that for a while. It used to be even just in a menu. You just go to Assets, Import Starter Assets for prototyping. Unity moved it to its own place. Now it's on the Asset Store, and they've made better, newer third-person controllers with the new input system. So this will say Add to My Assets, and you got to be logged in with the same account. But when you do that, you can click Open in Unity, which will launch. If you have Unity open, it will find it and it will open up your package manager and it will select the asset from there. But you can also just search for third person, which are the third person controllers that I bought. Here's the one we want, third person character controller, and we can download it. If it's not downloaded, download it if it's not downloaded, and then import it. It will download it to another place on your hard drive, not on your main Unity, not like into your project folder. So you could close this project, you could delete this project, you start a new project, and if you wanted to import this asset, you would still have it downloaded, which is really nice for something like the 1,000 audio effects things. Like Unity can download that like ahead of time, and then you only need to update it. And then it copies it into your project. In this case, it will make a folder called starter assets, and it will bring all of these things in. Don't just click import. I mean, for now, we are just going to click import, but it behooves you. It is a good practice to import everything into an empty project, like the one I have open, and then go in and check out what you need, what you don't need, what you're going to use. For example, I have an entire demo environment, a bunch of mobile support code, tutorial, a PDF for documentation, README file. Like, I don't need most of that stuff if I were to actually start using this in my real project. So I would unselect that. And that just, not only does it mean I just like have less stuff just hanging out in my project, but it actually helps me, right? Because I'm off, I'm going to be here and trying to grab add a prefab or something and search for my prefabs. And there's going to be a bunch of things that I don't need or don't want, or I'm not using. And then it's going to make Unity just a slightly more annoying place to work. Or if I'm using a little bullseye selection, quick select menu, it's going to be annoying. So anyway, if it put all your files in the root directory, usually we take a second to organize, and we, maybe we make a packages folder or some similar folder, and we dump everything into that, so you don't have like my stuff, my scenes, my scripts, PolyPerfect LLC or whatever, and then you kind of organize as needed. Let's check out, most packages come with a demo scene, as does this one. Let's check it out. And I have I'm ready to go make a video game with the third person view. And I can figure out what I actually want the character to look like later. First, I need to prototype my mechanics and do some level design stuff. There it is. We're ready to rock. It's great. And I can, most packages also come with prefabs, and you can just make a new scene. Here, I'll just use sample scene, and we'll make and they come with prefabs, and we can just drop this one. Drop one of our, without the camera. There you go. And I'm ready to rock. It's just everything's in the prefab. If you do that, what I recommend is to bring that into your own place. Is to unpack it, and then make your own prefab that we can rename player, and we can start adding our own scripts to and changing all the settings of and messing with. And then after we were done breaking it, we can go back and we can still get their prefab version. I don't have to re-import the asset. Their prefab's like, here's a working example. And then I make a copy of it, and I'm like, okay, here's my thing I'm going to use in my game. I recommend working that way. I've seen people get tripped up far too many times on messing up a prefab and then not being able to go back. You want to be able to apply changes to a prefab when you're editing, right? Okay. If I wanted to get rid of this, if I'm like, actually, it's a first-person game, I don't need the third-person control, I can just delete that. I can just delete it. It's fine. Because all it did was just bring that folder in. I don't need it. One last note. Let's say I want to add another package to my project. One not from the asset store, but from GitHub. Let's say I want to add scriptable object architecture. It's going to go through, well, it's on the asset store, so I can do it that way. It's going to go through, where is that? I could grab the package from the releases and download this .unity package file. You can create your own Unity packages of your own assets, but I've got this scriptable objects architecture Unity package thing. Under assets, I could import that package, custom package, and I could find it and import it there. This Unity package is a zip file renamed with some metadata and some other fancy stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you a different way. And you can export package by selecting your project, click and export Unity package. There it is, ready for you to use. Another way you can do it is by adding the actual Git URL, which is this, to the package manager. Click a little plus button, you have lots of different options, and we could add a URL. But you'll notice that's not what the instructions in this GitHub site told me to do. It said simply modify your manifest.json file. What is, you want me to do this by hand? Okay, well, let's take a look at that file. Let me show you how to get to it. It is just in your packages folder, and it says manifest.json. And then we can open this file up. It's already open. We can open this file up, and it tells us our packages and what version we're using in our project. The package manager just edits this file, and Unity figures the rest out. So instead of having to figure out how to use any of the what's the word? Package manager, editor, IDE, workflow stuff, we can just edit this file and add it here. If I hit save, when I click back into Unity, it's doing it in the background. Here we go. It's going to download and import that package from the internet. And you'll notice it's not in this one didn't create it as a scenes. If I brought this in as from the import custom package, it would have been a folder on my assets folder. But here it's been saved in sort of in this area. Now, sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want to go in and edit their stuff and change their things and like delete their example code or like open their example scenes. But it's in a read-only package, so we can't edit that file. So sometimes that's no good. Like in this case, it's kind of annoying, but they get imported in different ways. If we go to the package manager, I can see in my project, I have a new section, not from the Unity official registry, but from this other place. I can update it. Apparently it needs to be updated. 1.6.4. Yeah, okay, it's up to date, whatever. And I could even remove it. So you don't actually need to add it by editing that file. In new versions of Unity, you can get that URL and add it that way. Let me show you that part. If I grab this, I think if I grab this, hold on, if I remember correctly, you need that .git. You can't just paste in the URL of the GitHub link. You need the actual .git link. There we go. I added it. It updated it. Let's remove it just to prove a point. That was exactly the same as editing the manifest file. If we import the custom package, you'll see it does it differently. It brings you this menu again, and it just is going to bring it all in as a folder. And if I did both, the game would probably break at both at the same time. So packages and assets can be confusing because there's so many different ways that they work and so many different ways that that you can get to the same place. And now I can actually go into my example scenes on this one. So I like using the package manager up until the point where I want to edit or mess with something or delete something from the read-only packages folder. I think so. I try to use it as much as I can instead of actually going in and editing this thing. You will see a lot, like on GitHub, like you'll see a lot of times someone will tell you to add this package, simply modify this metadata file. Because this will always work no matter what version of Unity you're in and no matter what the package manager UI looks like. So that always works, right? It's another popular Unity package is Zero. They have lots of wonderful Unity packages for doing all sorts of cool stuff. I really like Clack, Creative Coding Library. Just lots of fun interpolating and twerping and noise and perl. Just like, I don't know, just got lots of good stuff in here. It's got a MIDI. There's a MIDI extension. There's open sound control. There's lots of fun stuff in this library. Anyway, so they release their stuff as packages you can get. That's, I think, everything I want to talk about in about Package Manager. At the end of the day, if it's in your folder, Unity can work with it. I'm like, that's pretty much it, right? If you open the asset store from Unity, it tells you to go to the website. It used to be in Unity. But it's a website. It was literally a web browser in Unity. It was kind of ridiculous. But you would always be logged into it. That was nice. Anyway. Okay, goodbye.